What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Monday Night Raw post show. It is February 24th. Today, filling in for Santi is Robin Lundberg, who you guys know and love from the Friday Night SmackDown post shows. Robin, welcome over to Monday Night Raw. Thank you so much for filling in. I want to get started with your overall thoughts on today's show.
Yeah, I mean, look, I got to be honest, Denise. I think Raw, I know I do the SmackDown show with you. Raw has become the superior product since it moved over to Netflix. So it was like, oh, this is better. You know, I sold my soul to Raw. I guess I would say in the process of it, but I thought there was a lot of good. I mean, it wasn't a perfect show, but I thought there was a lot of good stuff on the show. I mean, I thought the last match was really good. I really enjoyed the Gunther and Tozawa match. I think the build with Gunther and Jey has been the best build to WrestleMania so far amongst anything. I like the Cody and Seth Rollins segment, and I like the CM Punk Logan Paul thing. I mean, Logan Paul pulled I guess I won't say that word. The biggest itch move you could possibly pull, slapping someone and then running away. I mean,
You
come
can say
on.
it, Robin. That's a bitch move right
Oh,
there.
it's
You
a
can say it.
bitch ass move is what it is. I just, I'm in the company of ladies and
Oh my God, Robin, I curse like a sailor up in here.
I know. I've just been on like so
Robin's
many
still a
different airwaves
gentleman.
over the years. Like I forget on these, I can say whatever the fuck. What I want.
See? Let it out, Robin. Just let it out.
Bitch ass move by Logan Paul, right on brand.
So it's so wild because I felt like today's episode of Raw, it was not even 2.5 hours. It was like 2 hours and 40 minutes or so. It was a little bit more than what the last couple of weeks of Raw have been like, right? And it was one of those shows where I thought they could have, if they would have taken out a couple of segments and we would have gotten that compact 2.5 hour show, I do think the show would have been a lot better. But it kind of goes to show not good SmackDown is right now,
Yeah.
that a mediocre episode of Raw is seen as a million times better than what we're used to over on SmackDown, because this was like an okay Raw and some parts even dragged at some points, but we did have, like you mentioned, some good moments in it. Of course, I did enjoy I think my favorite segment of the night was probably Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, followed by the tag team match that we saw, followed by the moment with CM Punk and Logan Paul as well. So even though we did have those moments and they did exist, it felt like we had to go through a lot though to actually get to those big moments on the show. But over on the SmackDown side, Robin, like, for example, this Friday, you and we talked about one big topic and one big topic alone, and that was Cody Rhodes and The Rock. And that was really the big thing to talk about. But had we not had that happen on that show, Robin, like we said, we joked about this, but this is probably the truth. We would have spent our entire time talking about your vacation last week.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that entire SmackDown was sold around The Rock and the Final Boss promo. And look, it's going to be the talking point for a long time now and up until Elimination Chamber. And I got some thoughts on Cody Rhodes as a result. But you just mentioned several things and you left. I would say my favorite segment on the show was Gunther and Tozawa. Like I thought that was really well done. I was super entertained. I popped at several occasions during that match when Tozawa fought back and sort of rolled him up, and the double drop kick from Gunther, double leg drop kick, that the power with which it landed. And then at that moment, Raj watched the whole show. My oldest watched the whole show with me, and my youngest Rohan, before he got banished to bed, was up through that match, and they both popped real hard, of course, for Jey Uso coming out, doing this the whole time. So that always influences me a little bit, but I love that segment quite a bit.
All right. Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and kick things off with it's funny because like we're so seeing the show differently. Like you saw that as your favorite segment. I saw it as Cody and
That's
Seth Rollins. And then, obviously we ended on a pretty interesting note. So I'm gonna go ahead and kick things off with the way that the show ended. I'll start there because I feel like that was pretty a newsworthy bit. And that was that the WWE Women's Tag Team titles were on the line. The former champions, Naomi and Bianca Belair, did not successfully defend against against Liv Morgan and Raquel. And so here's the thing, Robin. We went into this match, mind you, it was the main event, and people were wondering, like, hey, is Jade Cargill going to get involved? Is she going to be part of this? Is she going to come out and finally reveal who did the attack on her? When is this going to happen? And it feels like we're getting I don't know if we're getting further and further from finding out the truth, or we're getting closer. I hope we're getting closer because at least there's been some movement happening on that front. But I was wondering if Jade was going to come out only because it was the main event of the night. And I thought, well, they kind of need some sort of big bang to, close out the show. And instead, we had a whole lot of interference from Dominic Mysterio, which it had been a minute since he's like interrupted in Liv Morgan matches, but he was out there interrupting. But this was a fun matchup, though, regardless of how you feel about the titles changing hands. I thought they killed it in this match. Probably, I know you liked Gunther and Tozawa, but I thought this was the best wrestling match that we got the entire night. Just both teams were really, really on fire. But in the end, there was, some distracting of the referee by Dominic Mysterio. Raquel basically smashed the face of Naomi onto the ring post, and that basically allowed Liv Morgan to take her out and get the win. So but it was a fun match, and now we got brand new champions. So let's start there, Robin. Did you have those same expectations that Jade Cargill might be coming out? Or were you just like, nah, that's not going to happen? And how do you feel about the new tag champs?
Well, look, I thought it was a possibility for sure, but I wasn't expecting it, if that makes sense. It wouldn't have stunned me, but I wasn't basing my enjoyment or expectations on the match on that. And yeah, I agree with you. I thought it was a very good match. To Dom, just something about the way he's able to be douchey and be like the way that whole bit worked, I thought was good. Obviously they're tying in the Naomi and Raquel, the Liv and Raquel aspect to what happened to Jade Cargill. And I still think there's something that's going to happen with Naomi because she keeps coming up with the short end of the stick in all these situations. Even tonight, you saw it. I'm like, Bianca, you got to get up off the table. Go help Naomi. No, she's going to eat the pin again, right? And then it happened. She ate the pin again after eating the post. So I'm kind of curious to see where they go from there, because this Bianca Naomi thing with Jade not being involved, it doesn't have staying power. And I didn't even think what Jade and Bianca were doing before had too much staying power. And I feel like between the seeds that have been planted here and the looming return of Jade Cargill, we're going to get that plot twist. I feel like that plot twist is imminent.
I mean, you and I, we've talked about this storyline a whole lot. And for the longest, since this very start, we've been like, it's Naomi, it's Naomi. I cannot wait to have the moment where it's finally revealed that it was Naomi. And because I want to brag, I want to yell to the top of the moon and be like, I knew it all along. And I just can't wait for that, because that's when I think things really are going to start, obviously the ball's going to get rolling. They're going to really start to push this feud to a whole other level. And it's just I think we have a lot of expectations right now for that, because this is one of the biggest women's storylines that they're telling right now at this moment on WWE programming. Like, there's really no other real major women's storyline that they are doing. Of course, they're doing the Rhea Io thing, but that's not really there hasn't been that much to the story. There's promos here and there, the little interactions. Okay, fine. There's that portion of it. I'm not going to disregard that, but it's not nowhere near as what this is here. And then of course you have Charlotte and Tiffany. That's a whole other thing. But in terms of the non-title picture, this is it right here. So I really want them to do this and tell the story right. I want to see an angry Naomi. I want to see a Naomi that's constantly be pushed to the side, finally say no, this is my time right now. Now, the other thing that this got me excited about I was happy that Liv and Raquel won the titles. And it wasn't so much so that Liv and Raquel won the titles that made me like this. It was more so that I was happy that Bianca was no longer a tag team champion. And I know that makes me sound awful, but Robin, I just love Bianca in the singles division. I feel like her being tag team champion has kind of held her back a little bit. And I feel like the void of not having Bianca in the main title picture has been felt. In my opinion, I think it has been felt. I want to see Bianca in that main title picture. I know she's accomplished a lot already, but I still feel like she should be in there all the time because of all of the accolades she has. She is one of the best wrestlers out there for the women, and I just don't feel like anybody has successfully replaced her as that kind of a performer, where she checks off all the boxes, where even some of the top women in WWE do not check off the same boxes that Bianca does. And maybe I'm like selfish, maybe I'm biased because I'm a big Bianca Belair fan, but I just really think that she just shines a lot brighter in the singles division. I want to see her in those big programs, and I'm still selfishly hoping that come Elimination Chamber that she is the one that wins and goes on to face Rhea Ripley. I know it's maybe a little bit not possible because of the stuff that's going on with Jade, but wouldn't it be nice though if it did happen and this dream WrestleMania match finally occurred?
Well, not only is Bianca one of the best now, she's one of the best ever. I mean, like, I don't even think that's up for debate. That's not a, that's almost a matter of fact at this point. And you look at the chamber, and I was looking at it, and it is interesting because Naomi's in there too, right? So there could be that aspect of it coming into play. But on paper, what's the best possible outcome for WrestleMania? Absolutely Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. Now that Charlotte Flair has chosen Tiffany Stratton, we know we've got that. And Io Sky's not even involved, obviously, in the chamber match, right? She's got the match with Rhea next week. I'm looking at the graphic right now, and I'm trying to think to myself, all right, which of these ones is selling that at WrestleMania? It's Bianca. It's Bianca and Rhea. That's the biggest money women's match that they can possibly put on, I think, at this point. So, yeah, I'm not sure how the other aspect of it that they've been going along with gets us there, but maybe it's Naomi and Jade, and that's Jade's first feud, right? And then Bianca could go do this as well. But because I'm not sure which other match could get fast tracked the same way that one could.
Right, exactly. Like it's right there. The star power, the buzz, it would already have it instantaneously. All right, we got a couple of super chats here that I want to get to. We got Kevin Zwicker in the building. He says, very interested in seeing Jade's reaction to losing the belts without her actually losing the belt. I went on her Twitter right now to see if she like tweeted anything, but I don't see anything new. So at some point, I too also want to hear what she has to say about that. And I'm sure that's going to be revealed the second that we find out who the legitimate attacker was for this. So, Kevin, thank you so much for the super chat. We got Matt Logan here who says, hard to take Seth seriously when wearing costumes. Look, I'm usually one to agree with that statement. It doesn't impact me as much. I feel like a lot of people call out Seth Rollins for this. There's times where I get it, where I'm like, yeah, if he, presented himself a little bit differently on the wardrobe side of things, yeah, I would take him seriously. For me, it's been more so on the promo front. This was the first promo from Seth Rollins in a while, like at least a couple of months. Maybe I'm stretching. Let's say a couple of weeks that I legitimately enjoyed. So let's get to it because I do want to talk about this quite a bit. Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes with the Rock wanting his soul thing. Since Friday, I think it's become this like online joke, Robin, where people are like, dude, the man is asking for your soul and you just stood there. You didn't do anything. He's touching and caressing your face and you still didn't do anything. I don't even know what to say about it, right? So it's become this like joke online, right? And we get to this whole thing. They're doing this whole promotion for Elimination Chamber that Cody Rhodes is going to make this decision, Robin. Now, he goes out there and he's all happy, right? And he's saying like, oh, I have this big decision to make. Robin, I'm sitting there and I'm going, what decision? This shouldn't even be a decision, bro. You should just be going out there and saying, no, Rock, you cannot have my soul. I'm not going to sign up to be your little bitch. I'm not going to do any of that. And what I had told everybody in the watch along was, we need somebody to come out here and talk some sense into Cody Rhodes. And that ended up being Seth Rollins. And at first, I wasn't sure if he was going to be up to the task, right? And he did. He delivered. Seth Rollins basically told him, like, no, like, what are you thinking, Cody? Like, this is not what you should be doing. You should have slapped this man the second that he attempted to take your freaking soul. And not only that, this is also a slap in my face because I helped you out at WrestleMania going up against this guy. And he said, where is the Cody Rhodes that I fought at Hell in a Cell with a torn pec and all of the bouts that him and Cody Rhodes had? And so I loved this promo from Seth Rollins. And I'm so happy that someone finally went out there, Robin, and told Cody Rhodes, what the hell, dude? Someone needed to slap him in the face with a reality check.
I guess it took me this segment to get there because I guess I just wasn't ruminating over it on the weekend. We talked about it on Friday, obviously, but I had that same reaction that you're describing in the midst of the segment. And I'm like, Cody, you bum. Like you're going to sit there and you had that puppy dog ass look on your face when The Rock stole your main event last year. Now you come around and he's asking to steal your soul and you're contemplating it like it's a real decision. And I've now gotten to the point where I'm rooting for Cody to accept The Rock's offer. I want corporate Cody. It's going to be more interesting. Give me CM Punk winning the chamber, CM Punk against corporate Cody, with CM Punk calling The Rock out for stealing his WrestleMania main event so many years ago. That's what I'm now rooting for because I can't stand that goofy ass look on Cody Rhodes' face anymore when he's contemplating these things that shouldn't take any contemplation.
He said he had to talk to his wife about it. Robin, I'm a married woman. If my husband came to me and was like, hey, Denise, I'm thinking about selling my soul to this guy, I'd be like, bro, we're getting a divorce. This is done. I ain't going to be with you. Robin, what would your wife do if you went up to her and you were like, hey, I'm contemplating on giving my soul?
Oh, she wouldn't hear what I said and just would move on to the next thing. But as far as...
Is that the truth? Oh, married life, everybody. Married life. There's people here that are relating at the moment.
Yeah, did you do the dishes?
Yeah, that's nice. Did you do the dishes?
She kept bothering me about printer ink earlier today when I was in the middle. So I was like, yeah, I'll get the printer ink, okay?
Yeah. Buy your soda, whoever. Just fill the damn printer ink.
I don't know what our printer even is. Like, give me a second to cross-reference it. But yeah, no, I mean, it's so absurd when you actually think about it and break it down. And I mean, Cody's done a tremendous job, and I was at WrestleMania for the moment when it happened. But again, my son, for the first time, I heard him call Cody boring today. I mean, he's the oldest one, but I was like, did you see that online? Like, where did you get? Because I know now he's like watching, because he's coming to me all the time with like, hey, this is gonna happen and this is gonna happen. Like he's watching videos or whatnot, and he pops up in the chat of my live streams. And so I know he's active, but that's the first time I've heard, like, in the same segment where I'm having those thoughts I just told you I was having, he's telling me Cody's boring. I'm wondering if maybe it could actually happen. Like, could it actually happen?
Robin, so when this whole thing started, everybody was shipping like the corporate Cody, right? And I'm like, I'm not there yet. I'm still not there yet, but there was a moment during this promo where I thought, really, Cody? Really? You're going to say this? Where he kind of bragged about being flattered that The Rock wanted his soul when he told Seth Rollins, oh yeah, you're just upset that your soul is whatever he said. I don't even know what he said anymore about Seth Rollins' soul, but he basically said The Rock didn't want your soul because your soul's not good enough, clearly. And I'm thinking, you're bragging about this, Cody? What? Like, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. And that was the moment where I thought, you know what? This probably is where Cody is legitimately going to become corporate Cody. And that was the first major sign of it that I saw where I thought, oh shit, he might actually turn.
Yeah. And the fact that it's even up in the air, I mean, that's where I defended the promo on Friday night because the whole thing was absurd on its surface. The Rock's entire delivery was completely meandering and nonsensical for the majority of it. But what was the end goal? To get us hooked and interested in what was going to happen. And so ultimately, that's the success or failure of it, right? Like, is it going to get us interested in what's going on? And I think the interest level for Elimination Chamber just went way up. I think the interest level around Cody Rhodes just went way up. The interest level and intrigue around what that main event could look like just went way up. So for all of those reasons, while it may be stupid and silly and not have made sense in the delivery, it does, I think, make sense in what it's going to deliver.
I hope it does because that was a big conversation today, which was, right now this WrestleMania isn't feeling so hot. It's not, right? Like, we're not necessarily going, oh my God, this is the big match that I'm really looking forward to. We're not necessarily saying, oh, this is such a great build to WrestleMania. It's not. It's just been there. Now, of course, I'm not gonna go and jump off any cliffs until maybe after Elimination Chamber, kind of see how that goes. Because it kind of feels like instead of the moment start, of course, WrestleMania season starts with the Royal Rumble, right? But I feel like the actual excitement and the true buzz might not start until after Elimination Chamber. Once we know what Cody's match will be, his opponent, right? Once we know what the hell Roman Reigns is going to do, what the hell CM Punk is going to do, all of these big people that we really care about, Rhea's opponent, we still don't know. I mean, God, it's so a lot of people, a lot of big important people that we care about on this show, their WrestleMania future is still dangling up in the air as to what the hell they're going to be doing. And so I feel like until Elimination Chamber, I'm going to wait until then, see how that goes. And I hope that after Elimination Chamber that we really just like kick things into, like Jacob Fatu says, all gas, no brakes when it comes to going into WrestleMania. So that's what I'm hoping for. But we do got a couple of super chats here. This is from David Primero, who says, Bianca wins Elimination Chamber, costs Io the title on Raw, 3-way at WrestleMania. No, I would rather, if we're finally going to get the dream match, it's got to just be Bianca and Rhea. That's the dream match. And mind you, of course, if they did add Io, I don't want to discredit Io because Io's very talented and they're all really great wrestlers, but the star making performance is between both Rhea and Bianca. Thank you so much, David. We got Jacob Tatum here who says, assuming Jay wins the championship, what type of title reign would you like to see him have versus expectations? Plus, what's next for Gunther after his loss? Ooh, two really great questions here. Let me see. I'm trying to think which one jumps at me first. What is after? So I think expectations of Jay's run, I would hope he just goes out there and just has, I think for him, because he's not, how do I say this? He's not like a, 5-star type of wrestler, right? He's not going to go out there and have these 5-star matches, right? I think for him, it's all about moments and storytelling. So I feel like with that, that's what they're going to have to lean in a whole lot on. And then when it comes to what Gunther does after his loss, I'm still waiting on that Gunther Ludwig Kaiser program. I've been waiting on that for a while. So maybe that would open up some doors for that. I feel like there's some obvious one that I'm not thinking of right now at the moment. But Robin, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think Gunther, would he be solemn or would he be on like a reign of terror after, like motivated for a reign of terror to go through everybody? I mean, it's tough because there's not a real distinction between his Intercontinental title run and his world title run, other than that the Intercontinental one felt more important and bigger, right? Like it felt big, but there's not a distinction in between what he's doing. He won, he's unstoppable Gunther, and then Sami Zayn comes with the big upset, and they sort of just did it again with the world title, but it didn't feel novel that time around. I'm trying to figure out how they would capture that energy. Like a program with Kaiser is interesting because of their history. I don't know who else on the roster. I mean, does he go back for that title with Braun Breaker, to get his mojo back? Something like that.
The impending return of Ilya Dragunov, but mind you, he's going to be out for like 9 months because of his torn ACL. I don't know exactly when his time frame to return might be, but that's somebody that I would love if we could circle back to that.
Yeah, because they have to find a unique and new. I mean, I don't know if there's like a character switch for him because he's kind of is what he is in a sense. Like, he's not going to come back as a swashbuckling baby face.
I want him to be meaner than
Yeah,
ever.
I mean,
Like,
yes,
just be nasty, like, just mad
scorn.
at the world,
Yeah,
right?
or that's it. And as far as the Jey Uso reign, yeah, I mean, I think it can't just be though stomped out. I mean, you need to sustain that a little bit because of how long it took to get there and the recognition of that. So I mean, you kind of just put him in these matches to make sure he gets a few wins and wins over the crowd before the real challenges come down the pipeline. But that's going to be a test for Jay because you pointed it out, and I don't think it's unfair to point out. I love Jay. I love the Royal Rumble outcome. You could see how he's loved by the crowd. All these things are great, but he hasn't. What are the 5 best Jey Uso matches? That's not. They don't pop right into your head. I think that's the challenge. That's what comes with the territory. All right, you worked your way up to here. All right, now do it. And I think that's something he's going to have to do. I think that's something that the onus is on him. The pressure is on him, and he worked his way to get to that moment. Then he's going to have to pay it off.
Yeah, you're right. You're definitely right. And we know his strong suits, and that's what I think they should. That's going to be the skill, right? That's going to be the challenge, for example, for Triple H. It's like, okay, how do you protect this babyface champion? And make sure that accentuate the good things about him instead of just the flaws, because already there's so much criticism of Jey Uso already, where people, I mean, we're even hearing it in the actual storylines. I mean, he's talking about people don't believe in him, how he's just a meme. That's what Grayson Waller was telling him today, like, oh, you're just a meme. And so, there's people that are like, he's just a chant. And it's like, how do you erase that perception of you when people could say, okay, well, he is over because of the chant, he is over because of the yeet stuff and the entrance and all of that. And so in that sense, like, he does have to find a way to get over a little bit, not over a little bit differently because he's already over, but just to add that layer of be like, all right, you know what? We know what to expect from Jey Uso. We know that we are at least going to get a decent match or a decent feud out of Jey Uso, because you don't want it to feel like, you don't want the reign of his to feel flat.
Well,
That's the one thing I'm concerned about.
that's the chip on his shoulder, right? And it's interesting storytelling in the sense of blending the quote unquote reality, but how real is that reality when you hear what happened when he came out today? Again, like, we could sit here and talk in circles and they can tell him what they read in a tweet or whatever, but the people who are paying their damn money to put their butts in the seats are saying otherwise.
That's true. I mean, he's got a lot of freaking fans, man. They're buying his merch. I mean, I talk about this all the time, but every single time, Robin, that I go to these shows, it's Rhea, it's Cody, it's Punk, it's Roman, it's Jay, in terms of like the merch that is being sold. And the Yeet stuff, it's freaking working. And that's what got him here at this point.
I teach a basketball class on Denise on Fridays in the afternoon at the elementary school here. I had this little kid, and some of these kids, but never mind. But this kid is like flipping, he keeps flipping his shoe off. And he said he was yeeting his shoe. And I'm like, do you even know what that means? And he's like, no. But like, it goes to show you just how ubiquitous that term has become, where this kid is in first grade, saying he's yeeting his shoe, doesn't even know where the reference is coming from, but clearly he's heard it and it's infiltrated his brain to the point that it's part of his vernacular.
It's true. It's true. I can see that happening for a lot of people. I'm not surprised by that. Jacob, thank you so much for the super chat, for the interesting questions there. Good stuff, man. All right. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into Logan Paul and CM Punk here. So just to kind of run down a brief little history here. So Logan Paul eliminated CM Punk from the Royal Rumble. They then had a little mini confrontation a few weeks ago. We didn't get too much from that. And I remember even saying, damn, I'm assuming they're sort of saving this because we're going to get a lot more from Logan Paul and CM Punk. And then today, when Logan Paul went out there and he was bragging and doing his thing and he was interrupted by CM Punk, I thought, oh man, this is it. CM Punk's finally going to hand it to him. Like, he's going to finally teach this kid a lesson. He's going to finally shut him up. He's going to roast him. You know, all of the expectations I had of this. Now, this wasn't the kind of promo that I was expecting, though, Robin. I think that for the most part, he basically told, Logan Paul, he's not, a legend the way that he is. He's
a
not
dime
going
a
to be there.
dozen.
He's a dime in the dozen, exactly. He's not going to be there for as long as CM Punk is. He's not going to be that same kind of legend that guys like John Cena and Stone Cold and CM Punk are. And that was basically what he gave him there, which great. That stuff was fine. But I don't know that the promo still didn't deliver in the sense that I really wanted him to just like show Logan Paul, hey, like you're in the ring now with CM Punk, who's one of the best on the microphone. I wanted him to roast him so freaking hard. But Logan Paul, after this, really heated this up, by the way, with him slapping CM Punk. And now it's making me wonder, Robin, will this match happen at WrestleMania? Or are they just simply doing all of this just to heat up their interactions in the Elimination Chamber more so?
I think whatever Paul's match at WrestleMania is going to be set up inside the Elimination Chamber. So whether it's CM Punk or not, I think we're going to get that answer in the midst of the Elimination Chamber. And I could still see it being Cena. I still think that makes a lot. If Cena's not in the main event, I think that makes a lot of sense from a star power selling point standpoint and a rooting interest standpoint, where you got somebody that everybody's pulling for versus somebody everybody's rooting against. Because Logan Paul pulled that bitch ass move slapping CM Punk, but he slapped the shit out of him because his mouth was bleeding.
Yes!
He must have bit his lip in the process.
Yes!
But he slapped him hard. And remember, Logan Paul he may act like a punk, but he ain't no punk. I mean, he's the same guy who stood in the ring with, whether it was a joke of a fight or not, he was in there with Floyd freaking Mayweather, who is arguably the greatest boxer of all time, pound for pound. So, like, this is not somebody who's a scrub and ain't legit when it comes to throwing hands, right? So, Logan Paul has so many of those things, of wrinkles about him. He appeals to kids because of the prime drink. Trust me, I've seen that. He has, real legitimate, like, tough guy athletic aspects to him, but he is a YouTube spoiled, whatever you want to call him. So there's all these different factors that go into that. And maybe, CM Punk and Logan Paul, that would be a good one. But I do think in the process of that Elimination Chamber, we will get the Logan Paul feud started for WrestleMania.
It's so crazy because right now we're like in the spectrum of it's either going to be CM Punk and Logan Paul at WrestleMania or CM Punk and Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy that we're kind of like teetering between these two possibilities of like, all right, well, what are we going to get here?
Yeah.
And of course, my heart is more set on going the direction of Cody and CM Punk. But I also recognize, though, that WWE does see Logan Paul as this big star, given the mainstream work that he does, how he's known and all of that. And so I do feel like WWE would prime him up. Oh my gosh, I didn't mean to use prime, but hey, no pun intended. I would prime him up to be in the matchup with CM Punk. I could see them making that decision. And I don't know that I don't think that's what the fans want to see, but I can see the company getting behind that and, going for it. And who knows? And even though it's not the thing that the fans would want to see, I do think, though, that if they do go all in, like if Logan Paul, because Logan Paul has been known to kind of go below the belt a little bit. For example, if Logan Paul went out there and talked about CM Punk's brief little stint in MMA, I mean, come on, like that's not something that would be interesting. I think it would be interesting for him to bring that up. Who knows? Maybe he even makes some mentions to about CM Punk's controversial past. Like, don't softball it. Like, I think if you want to throw like a hardball kind of a promo, this is who you do it with Logan Paul and CM Punk. So I do think there is an opportunity to make this kind of a juicy, ugly, low blow, all of that kind of a feud with Logan and Punk.
Well, working backwards, who could win that match other than Punk or Cena?
Against Cody?
No, the chamber match.
Yeah. And then to go against Cody,
Yeah.
To me, it's no one but them two.
I mean,
If I had to pick somebody else, I'd probably go with Drew.
I would go with Drew aligning with The Rock. because they've had like a little like the Drew becoming the corporate champion for The Rock. That's the only other possibility I could see, and I think it's a remote one. Because so I believe whichever guy doesn't win is probably facing Logan Paul, whether it's Punk or Cena.
Wild. Oh, I can't anymore. It's so crazy. All right, let's see what we got here. We got John Taylor in the building. John, good to see you, man. John says, well, Robin is here. Does that mean tomorrow is Saturday? Let's effing go. No work tomorrow. I love it. We've been just like mixing everything up because Chinadu filled in for you, and then you filled in for Santi. Everyone's just moving around for all these shows,
It's
but
the transfer window.
yeah, the transfer window. Exactly. It is open and alive here on the channel. John, thank you so much for the super chat. We got Brandon Rosen with a very generous super chat. Brandon, thank you so much, man. He says, Cody's not turning. Remember, Cena's best for business. Comment 1 month ago. His heel turn will finally happen when he wins Elimination Chamber, then beats Cody at WrestleMania 41 with the help of the final thus forming the new two-man power trip. So I've kind of heard people theorize this for a bit. I'm still on the side of I don't want to see John Cena be a heel for the tail end of his career. I want to see him just play through and just be a babyface for the rest of it. I feel like that's what I'm signing up to see for the final year.
Yeah, no, I get that, but it's not a bad theory. I'm not mad at it. There's a lot of different ways because I mean, think about the selling power of a Cena Rock alliance, an evil Cena Rock alliance, corporate, authority kind of deal.
I'm not on board, Robin. I'm not on board. I visualized it and I'm like, nah, it's not the thing that I get most excited about. It's really, there are certain things that I think when you like speak them out into the abyss, you're like, oh yeah, that sounds really, really cool. That just doesn't do it for me. That doesn't sound cool to me. Maybe it's just my taste. I'm just not interested. I just rather see John Cena just like.
Okay, so then what does he do? What does Cena do?
No, just go out there and have a good time.
Does he win the title?
I did want to see that. But I also fear that they might not actually execute on that. I wonder if they have different plans as to who might eventually break that, 17th world title win. I just don't know. I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's the most predictable thing to do, but what if they don't want to do predictable?
But yeah, I mean, it would be, if he had to cheat to do it, and that's how he did it. I mean, there's something to it. I mean, we've got to get a turn in this. Like, we're getting something with The Rock. It's not going to be Cody Rhodes going, "I'm not your corporate champion," and then that's the end of it, right? Like, we're either getting a Rock Punk sort of quasi feud, a Cody turn, a Cena turn. We're getting something in that realm.
Well, I mean, look, he could tell The Rock, no, I'm not going to be your little chump. And then The Rock could literally make his life a living hell. He's part of the board. Like, I feel like that wouldn't be it. Like, he would still be able to throw in all these obstacles at him.
Wait, and then you mentioned his name earlier. We also haven't seen Roman Reigns.
No, nothing since the Rumble.
Yeah, I mean, and they laid the seeds for that being him and Seth, possibly, or him, Seth, and Punk. There's just so many different balls in the air right now. Maybe that, I mean, you said the thing about WrestleMania, and you're right. It doesn't have that juice and that buildup. But did last year's, until all of the Cody Rock thing, right? Like, that's what gave last year's WrestleMania the mega feel.
That was already in February. That was early February. Early February, we were already being like, what the hell, Rock? What the hell is going on? So, I mean, we spent a lot of time really investing in that whole Rock, Cody, Roman, Seth situation that we saw.
But we didn't have the ideas of how that was going to be completely defined until that press conference. When did that happen?
That was in early February because it was the same weekend as the Super Bowl.
It was, okay.
Yeah, that's why I remember it.
All right. So, yeah, I guess it's only a couple of weeks difference. Is WrestleMania, what weekend is WrestleMania this year?
April 19th and 20th. So I think it's like the third week of April.
So, but it's 2 weeks after last year's WrestleMania then.
Correct.
Last year's WrestleMania was the 6th and the 7th, I think. So roughly we're in the same ballpark. It just, you think about it because you're saying early February, but if you're pushing the date back a couple weeks, we're really not that far off timeline-wise.
Right. So again, like I said, it feels like, come after the elimination. If after the elimination chamber, we're still here, we're gonna have a problem. But I don't think we will be. I think about that by after the elimination chamber, there might be some more excitement in the air. Brandon, thank you so much for the generous super chat. We got well-rounded Leo who says, "Why does Cena get a pass for being a part-timer? He should not be champion." So I think it's more so of a record thing, and of course, John Cena's already paid his due over and over and over again. If anyone's allowed to be a part-timer, I would say John Cena is. Like, this is his final year, and he said he was going to be here for specific dates. And I think, what was it, like 30 something, 40 dates or something that he gave? So like, we've known this.
Also, I would say he deserves some damn credit. Like, he deserves some damn credit for not forgetting what made him who he is now and coming back for this last run. He's not a part-timer. He gave full time, gave his heart and soul to that, and that's what led to where he is right now. So I think it's something we should be grateful for, him coming back and doing this. A lot of people would come back for one match, one angle, something like that. To come back for a whole basically year tour, I think is commendable. So I'm giving him a pass in that aspect as he's passing the torch. He's been happy to pass the torch. I mean, how many times has John Cena done the job for other people in the process of this? So I think he deserves his flowers.
Thank you so much, well-rounded Leo. We got David Primero here who says, "Notice all men involved in the Elimination Chamber have rivalries. CM Punk and Logan Paul, Drew and Priest, Seth with Roman, while John Cena left with no rivals, so he wins Elimination Chamber." I mean, again, they could switch things up. Again, they could start feuds in the Elimination Chamber. They can start new ones. I mean, hell, we could see something brew between Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre. I mean, we just don't know what can happen here. And of course, Drew's beef with everybody. He's got beef with Punk. He's got beef with Seth. He's got beef with Roman. I mean, dude's got beef with everybody. So, I don't know. I feel like, again, John Cena is like the predictable option for the Elimination Chamber, but I think the one that really, if I were to say, is getting getting a rise out of me, it would be really exciting if it was CM Punk. But again, I think I might go with the more predictable option but then here's the thing though. John Cena was the predictable option for the Royal Rumble too, and then that didn't end up happening. So maybe they're just trolling us and they're making us think, oh yeah, John Cena didn't win this, so he'll win that, and then he wins nothing.
Well, with both of them, time is of the essence. The time is now. Because John Cena, his time is ticking. We know that. We have literally the end date. But let's be real about CM Punk too. There ain't that much gas left in the tank. He might feel refreshed and all that, but he's had a recent injury history. He's not, a spring chicken. So if you're planning big things with CM Punk at the top of the card, they also have to happen sooner rather than later, or else they're not going to happen at all.
I know, and I keep wondering if CM Punk's going to finish his story and actually main event WrestleMania, and I'm really hoping he does. So, like, that's part of why I want CM Punk to also win.
I mean, like, Cody Rhodes against CM Punk main eventing WrestleMania. I mean, that's
see, that's
American
money.
Nightmare for Tony Khan. No, but
you're thinking about it as like those were CM Punk's guys. I mean, Tony Khan's guys.
That's right. I don't think WWE would do that specifically for that purpose.
Right. But you wouldn't help but to notice it
with The Rock on top of it too. I mean,
oh my God. I didn't even think about it that way, because I guess, like, even though both of them were in AEW, because they have both of their respective histories in WWE and were WWE superstars first, that's why I don't really see it like that. But then at the same time, how can you not, when like both guys left, AEW under whatever, reasons that they both did. They both had two totally different reasons to exit, but still, it is something where you're like, shit, those are my guys right there.
Yeah, I mean, and I literally just thought of it at a moment. I wasn't even like, I didn't come in thinking that, but
yeah,
when you look at, and their career paths, there's a lot, and the history of that's probably my favorite. My favorite outcome at this point is corporate Cody backed by The Rock against CM Punk. Wants to stick it to The Rock for stealing his WrestleMania main event, back in the day.
All right, we got John Taylor. Thank you, David. We got John here who says, "I think this whole Sell Your Soul to Dwayne storyline is so last minute, hastily put together, that I doubt Cody, Cena, Punk are turning. IDK, who is? I mean, with The Rock, I do feel like it's not out of the realm of possibility for things to be last minute, and we've learned that since last year. And that's the scary part, right? When The Rock just come in and just change things. And we don't know how much was thought into this. We don't know when they came up with this promo for the stealing, for the want your soul. I don't even know if they even realized that it was going to take off the way that it did in such a, but in a way where we're kind of poking fun at it. Like, no one is taking this seriously. In fact, it's working against Cody, where we're like, dude, what's wrong with you, man?
But that's the same thing that happened last year. I mean, really, when you think, it wasn't until the fans. The
I don't
fans
know.
are the ones that changed that last year.
Right. But it's like, okay, but Cody, what could he have done? Honestly, what could he have done last year? Started a drama. Fine. I mean, he basically just said, okay, fine. I guess it is what it is, right? This is the WrestleMania match. He didn't really fight.
No. And I hear you. Well, he did in a way, because if you're to believe that documentary, he still pointed at Roman when that wasn't. Regardless, the fans fought for him, and that emboldened him, and then it happened the way it did. But there are some similar beats to it, because that was also hastily thrown together. It worked out to be one of the most compelling things, if not the most compelling build in the history of the business. Like, you could argue what happened last year was the most compelling build to anything in the history of the business, because of the players involved, because of Roman's streak, because of Cody's story, because of The Rock, because of the chaotic nature of it. There were so many things going for it. But it was hasty in the sense of, all of a sudden, The Rock's here. He's stealing the Royal Rumble winner's spot. He's going against, and it happened in a matter of weeks, just kind of like this, where you had that, it was the puppy dog face from Cody last year that was kind of memed into oblivion, in the same way that this whole sell your soul thing is. So these things can change very quickly, get heat very quickly. It's all going to come to a head. We're going to know one way or another how we feel about it Saturday. Like, that's going to be when it is put to the test, and we understand if WrestleMania is going to get to that point or not, and how invested we are and how compelling all of it is, because there is no question it feels hastily and last minute put together, but so did last year, and that worked out hella good.
We got Sleaze Boy here who says, I saw him to attack Jade Santos Escobar. Sleaze Boy, you're funny. Thank you so much for the super chat. We got Ladder Jeans who says they're teasing a new member for Judgment Day. It's going to be David Finlay slapping some sense into Finn Balor. His contract is ending. I actually didn't realize that his contract was ending. That's really great to know. I think some of the theories that we put out there so far is really just like Malachi Black. Aleister Black, if he were to come back to WWE, which it looks like he might. He's kind of one of the theories. The other theory floating around was Karrion Kross, which, by the way, he was watching Sami Zayn today after one of his promos. So there's something to kind of think about. That's been happening for a bit now. So yeah, I don't know what they're going to, I'm wondering when they're going to introduce the new Judgment Day character. I even wondered if it would happen here tonight, but it didn't. So I'm thinking like, then Judgment Day doesn't really have any big matches happening at Elimination Chamber. So probably whenever they do decide to do Finn Balor's match with what's his face? Oh crap, why am I blanking on his name? Who was I talking about today? Finn Balor. Finn Balor had that tease with the
on Raw today?
Yeah, on Raw with what's his face? Oh my gosh, I'm like totally blanking on this. Yeah, it was afterwards.
Bron Breakker?
Bron Breakker, thank you. Yes, it was after Bron Breakker versus Dominic Mysterio. That's who it was. Sorry, I was trying to remember. I was like, wait, who did he have the confrontation with again? Yes, it was Bron Breakker. So after Bron Breakker, let me get into this because this was a whole big portion of the show as well. Bron Breakker has this match with Dominic Mysterio, right? And I was kind of a little irritated because afterwards they had the Judgment Day go in there and they got involved, and this ended up being a freaking DQ. So Bron Breakker went to be a DQ. He doesn't get a clean victory. None of that, mind you. He's a champ, so I don't really love that. But I didn't want to see the Judgment Day like lay out Bron Breakker, and he did it, which I was thrilled about. That he was able to take out and defend himself against all of these guys. But in the end, the person who was like kind of like still there was Finn Balor, and that's when they ended up having that little confrontation there. So it looks like not only does he have what he has brewing with AJ Styles, but now it looks like what he has a new drama with Finn Balor. So at least we got that whole thing that's kind of start to commence there. But I'm wondering if whenever we get Braun Breaker versus Finn Balor, if that's when we actually get the actual matchup or the actual reveal of the new member of the Judgment Day.
Yeah, and you also had the AJ Styles Logan Paul segment backstage too. So there, maybe I jumped the gun a little bit to say it's definitely going to be either Cena or Punk, whoever doesn't win the Elimination Chamber against Logan Paul, because that was, the breadcrumbs were planted there too. So there's this, even with the IC title, how many people has Braun had recent interactions with? Sheamus and Balor now and Styles, or like, I mean, I feel like there's been a lot with Braun Breaker too. The only match that seems to have there's two, right? Do we have two announced matches?
Two.
Charlotte and Tiffany and Jay and Gunther. And I feel like the latter is the only one with a really strong build right now.
Charlotte and Tiffany.
No, Gunther and Jay.
Oh, well,
I think the build to that.
Yeah, I think they need to tweak some things with Charlotte and Tiffany. They need to tweak some things there because I feel like I just want them to present Tiffany Stratton as a little bit more of a like as a threat. They're not presenting her as a threat right now, and I think that's the one thing they do need to work on. But Ladder Jeans, thank you so much for the super chat. And we got Awkward Meow here who says disappointed in women's chamber builds, lack thereof. Roxanne 1 week after first main roster win was not on TV. Final Raw and Bailey also hidden. Oh, and we did actually get in one of those. I don't know if you got to see this, Robin, but I do watch Raw without the ad. So I do see the little breaks and the little promos that they do in between. And one of the ones that they had was a really good one between Bailey and Roxanne Perez, where they're both like talking shit to each other, calling each other fat heads and things like that. And I'm starting to feel like there is the potential that we're going to see Roxanne versus Bailey at WrestleMania. I'm kind of hoping it does happen. But yes, they did throw Roxanne right in there, which again, I don't kind of mind. I don't mind that at all, by the way, because Roxanne was, in the final two of the Royal Rumble. She's been doing all this work with Bailey, plus all the work that she did on NXT for her championship, and then finally lost it, and then all of that. I do feel like her spot in the chamber was definitely earned. But for example, like I do, like it just feels like, man, like there aren't that many strong options in terms of a clear direction. Like if we do get Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair, it does feel like it's going to be a little bit out of nowhere, right? Because 1 minute she was doing one thing and now she could be doing this other thing. Liv Morgan, we've already done this with Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. We should not be doing that again. Bailey hasn't had any sort of ties right now to Rhea Ripley. She's been completely entwined with what she's been doing with Roxanne Perez. And then you have, who else? Naomi. She's also in the same boat as Bianca Belair. She's been doing all the stuff on the tag team side. And then you have Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss has kind of just been there since her return. So it does feel, while there's a couple of people in the men's chamber that have connections to each other and ongoing stories and things like that, that element is missing from the women's chamber.
Though I would say again, I don't think Bianca and Rhea need to build. The build for Bianca and Rhea is Bianca winning the chamber. Like that's the build. Then you go, oh shit, it's Bianca and Rhea, right? Like I could build that feud. I could build that match. That's more of they're going to be in the ring together at this moment in time. Where they're both in their, essentially their absolute primes, right? Either right smack dab in the middle of it, like Rhea, or right off the hottest they've ever been in Bianca, who can easily get back there in 2 seconds. So I think that to me is the one where you have the other stuff that's going on with Bianca. And it's interesting. I saw her, I think in an interview today, did she say that she would possibly turn heel, but it would have to be the right?
She said never say never, but when it does have to happen, it has to be something big.
Okay. So, and the subtext of what's going on with Naomi, so there's that part of it with Bianca, which can always be interjected into the story with Rhea to help fast track the build. But remember, we're still 1 plus 3 plus 4, 8 weeks, 7-8 weeks away from WrestleMania. There's plenty of time to build a story. And when I just kept looking at that graphic earlier, and I'm like, how could anybody but Bianca win it to sell that match. Something else crazy would have to happen with one of the other participants for me to buy it right after the fact. Otherwise, as soon as the ref's hand hits 3 in Bianca's victory, I'm like, all right, I'm in. Bianca and Rhea Ripley, sign me up.
I hope you're right, Robin. I hope you're right. Awkward Meow, thank you so much for the super chat. We got Well-Rounded Leah who says Cena does not deserve anything. He's already been given his flowers by being a 15-time champion. It's time to put new talent over. Well, I was gonna say Well-Rounded Leah's like the first person that I feel is like not on board with showering John Cena with some love on his final year. But again, it's his final year. Like this is it. This is that. That's the last of it. Like his legendary wrestling career is over after this. And I am okay with him getting these big moments.
Well, I mean, he's also spent a lot of time recently putting people over. I mean, didn't he lose to Solo Sikoa
He
at
did.
WrestleMania and get, Samoan spiked 100 times or whatever? And by the way, I wouldn't consider winning 15 times. Wouldn't it be 6? Isn't he going for 17 now?
He is going for 17.
16 times. I don't think that's him getting his flowers. I think that's him earning his place and cementing his legacy. I mean, like, it wasn't a handout. John Cena, they weren't just like, here you go, John Cena. There's a reason for that. There's a reason he's arguably on the Mount Rushmore, right? Or he's right in that vicinity. At the very worst, one of the top 10 of all time, probably top 5, and certainly in the argument for top 1. He's in that conversation. I think he's done his job in putting new talent over. I'm not saying he has to win necessarily, but part of the intrigue of this being his final run is that we know it's definitively the end, and we also know he's one win away from that record, and that is the compelling aspect of it, because there's really only 2 things you could do with him: is completely flip his character for the first time ever, or have him win the championship, or both. So I think that's how you maximize what you got here. And you have to remember, John Cena coming back, I mean, other than The Rock, there's nobody currently who's a more high profile performer outside of the realm of wrestling than Cena. And they'd be stupid not to capitalize on that as much as possible in the remainder of the calendar year.
I feel that. Thank you so much, Leo. We got Jacob Tatum here who says what is worse right now in Raw, the New Day on the Raw tag team division, because both feel like a filler, a road that leads to nowhere but boredom. Yeah, so that was one of the other big things that we were talking about today was the ball was dropped on the New Day. The New Day's turn on Big E was wonderful. It's going to go down in WWE history as a big moment. But the fallout from that, Robin, has definitely been lacking. Every single week, they pretty much have the New Day go out there and cut the exact same promo, which has not been fun to hear every single time. There was moments today, and mind you, this was during the commercial break, though. There was moments where they were out there and they were waiting for the crowd to boo them, and the crowd was not doing or saying anything. And then finally, like a couple seconds later, they finally got the cue of like, oh, this is our part where we're supposed to boo the New Day. But because it hasn't been so riveting, they haven't been responding. Like, it's the same thing we hear. I feel bad now because now when the New Day comes out, I'm like, oh, this is just the same thing that I saw last week. They had a match with the LWO. They defeated the LWO. But the thing is that the LWO is not over. So people don't care.
Well, I think the problem is Big E.
You think he needs to be there?
Yeah, that's what sold that, right? Like, and he's not there. Like, and the tag team division as a whole just kind of sucks on both brands right now, if we're being honest. And it does feel like filler content or bathroom break content. Let's be real about it. But the New Day specifically, you're right. Their heel turn really worked. But that's what's missing. Is it worked because they turned on Big E, and now I don't know if there was the plans of him maybe getting cleared in the process and it didn't work out, or that's still to come.
I don't think he ever was. No, I don't think he ever was.
And it's too serious a thing to,
Yeah.
trivialize, because obviously his health is paramount and that's super important. But from a storyline standpoint, that's what sold that, and that's what's missing. And I don't think it's more complicated than that.
It went from being one of my favorite things on the show to one of the things on the show where I'm like, oh, here we go again. We're going to get the exact same thing. Like, I feel like they almost go out there with like no direction at this point because I'm like, how do you go out there and do the same thing every week? Like you got to come up with something different. And so it's definitely not lived up, I think, to the expectations coming off of that one episode where we are talking about the turn. Jacob, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. We got a couple of other topics that we got to get into. We pretty much covered everything that was the major topics of Raw, but let's kind of run down some of these other moments that happened on the show. Penta defeated, I'm sorry, excuse me. We had Ludwig Kaiser defeat Penta and Pete Dunne. I did not care for this finish of this match, Robin, because essentially Ludwig Kaiser stole Penta's victory, but once Penta hit the Penta driver on Pete Dunne. But I didn't love this because he kind of just like threw him out. And it was so weak. It wasn't an exclamation point of an ending where, to me, I couldn't buy that Penta couldn't get up and go back in there and break up the count in time. So it felt like a really, really weak finish. The match itself was fine, but the finish I did not love. How'd you feel about it?
Yeah, I thought the match was actually quite good. I thought, the Penta looked really good in it. I thought his Mexican Destroyer looked great. I thought Kaiser's finishing move looked great. But yeah, the one depends on how easy it is for you to overlook. Issue was Penta getting tossed out,
He was like,
eased
yeah, it was
out.
just like, it was so gentle. And
Yeah.
I was like, come on, what are we doing here? We got to make it look more effective.
That's the problem is though, like, all right, fourth wall breaking and everything. Once you get to that point, what are you going to do? Like, you either have to completely ad lib on the fly or keep going with what, you were planning on. And it just was one of those ones that didn't work out so well.
We
I
are
was
glad
I was
three
willing
who
to
said he
okay,
was
ushered
ushered
out,
out.
eased out, pleasantly plummeted.
Bro gave him a mint on the way out.
Yeah.
Have a great day, sir.
The pillow with a chocolate on the outside of the ring.
Oh my god. I was so mad. I was like, really? Like that? Like, come on, give him some
Yeah.
sort of move. Hit him or
Handed him his
something. I
car
don't
keys.
know.
But
Wow.
yeah, that was the I mean, that was the one thing about it. Otherwise, it was a pretty darn good match, I thought.
And all right, the other topic. Oh, finally, your favorite. How did we take so long to get here? Gunther versus Akira Tozawa. This was fun. I'll give this to you, Robin. I did think the match should have ended though after the big boot, or maybe even after the chop, because I didn't like Akira Tozawa getting so much of a. I know what they were trying to do, right? They were trying to give him the moment of like, oh my God, what if? What if Akira Tozawa defeats Gunther? And I get it. That was the whole selling point. But I'm like, bro, it's Gunther. I see him a little bit differently. If this was another heel champion, great. But Gunther is not that kind of a heel champion, in my opinion. He needs to be taken a little bit more seriously, presented a little bit more seriously, because that's the appeal of Gunther. So I wish that after the big boot, this would have been done. But I get why people would have fun with this, because Akira Tozawa, he does a really good job.
I completely disagree. Like, I think, one, in this scenario, Gunther is being arrogant. And nothing's gonna damage what we think of Gunther and he's there, he's solidified. He's being arrogant and saying, "Bring me Tozawa so I can make mincemeat of him in front of everybody and sacrifice him because he's got no damn chance against me," which we all know he's got no damn chance against him. So I thought him getting a little comeuppance for that arrogance in the spunk that Tozawa showed in the fight, I think that Michael Cole referenced, and just I think you actually said it perfectly when you said that, like, nuh-uh, nuh-uh, like, and it's not gonna be the 1, 2, 3 kid, right? Like that's not gonna happen there in that moment. But it brought up a little bit more enthusiasm for me when Gunther ultimately squashed him. Like that to me like made that pay off more. So I was popping for both. I was popping for the little moments of offense from Tozawa and the little surprises from him, and the clear squash domination from Gunther in the midst of it. And then then there's the Jey Uso involvement, and Jey Uso and Gunther I think we'll see told in a Sami Zayn-esque way like last year. But I think the build to that, Jay picking Gunther, made sense from a storyline purpose, and I like everything about how they've gotten to that, and it was sort of Gunther mocking Jay in a sense too, by like, this is kind of how I view you. You're just a more popular Tozawa, and that arrogance maybe being his comeuppance.
I wish so there was a moment where like he would like lift up Tozawa because he wasn't done beating him yet. I wish that's what it would have been like since the moment, like after he hit the big boot, went for the finish. I wish from that point on he would have been like, nope, Akira Tozawa, not done with you yet. Here's a chop. Oh, I'm not done with you yet. I would have liked that format of a match better because I thought it would have made Gunther look like a freaking a-hole, right? Like a total killer. How can he do this to Tozawa? I think that would have been the moment that I would wanted to have seen how the match went instead. And they would put over, I think, Gunther as like an a-hole, just an a-hole. Like that's exactly what I want to see. And so also the one thing that I am excited for, and I hope that they do deliver on this, they didn't that I recall announce anything about this, but I would love to see Gunther versus Otis. I feel like obviously after him coming in to defend his friend and it not being enough, I feel like we have to see Gunther and Otis because I think that could be a fun one too.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure, especially for like a Raw kind of match too. Like that's right up the alley of a quick entertainment. But that's what I thought this segment was. It was more build to Jey Uso and Gunther, and it was super entertaining and fun. Like, I'm not going to ask for too much more than that.
We got John Taylor here who says crowd reacted seeing Otis and Gunther's face off. Yeah, I think there's a lot. I'm interested in that. So I do hope that they actually execute on that. Thank you, John. All right, we had the last thing we need to get into is the Lyra Valkyria match where she defended her Intercontinental Women's Championship against Dakota Kai. There's really not much to say really in regards to this. Lyra Valkyria gets the win. Oh yes, Ivy Nile did attack her afterwards, so it looks like we're getting into that's going to be Lyra's next program after Ivy did attack her, and she also attacked Dakota Kai. Did you have any thoughts on this?
Not especially.
Right, I know. It was like the one thing that was like, oh, it happened. The match went.
Yeah, I
went
didn't
by.
have a problem with it, but I don't have too many thoughts.
It wasn't anything too crazy. I know. But I was like, hey, you never know. Maybe Robin really loved this. All righty, guys. Well, with that being said, that is our Monday Night Raw post show. Thank you so much to everybody who came and hung out with us, whether you hung out on the watch along, whether you hung out on the review. Thank you very much. I did just upload an interview with Joe Hendry. If you guys haven't checked it out, it is up. He talks about the Royal Rumble being speared by Roman Reigns. Go check out that interview. Give it some love. And then also I posted the Elimination Chamber media call with Bianca Belair, Sami Zayn, Drew McIntyre, and Roxanne Perez, where they talk about their thoughts heading into the Elimination Chamber. You can check that out. And then I also uploaded a bunch of shorts from that. So in case you guys don't have time to check out the entire thing, I pretty much clipped out the main highlights and I posted them as shorts. So you guys can also watch those if you just don't have time to commit to a media call. And Robin, what do you got going on?
You can follow me over on my channel, Robin Lundberg show, and I promote everything I got over there. I think I saw somebody post part of CM Punk's interview, and they wrote whether he was dropping breadcrumbs too. So I'm just thinking, Denise, we're getting either corporate Cody or corporate Punk after Saturday. One of the two.
All right. Well, guys, if you enjoyed the show with Robin and I, we do a post. What the hell do? We do a review show every single Friday. We talk about SmackDown here on the channel. So if you guys had a good time, you guys like the show, make sure you guys tune in on Fridays. And if not, I'll be back next week, of course, with Santi on Monday. Tomorrow, I will be here with Chinadu to chat some NXT. And then Wednesday, I'll be here with Righteous Reg for some AEW Dynamite conversation. Thursday, I fly out to Toronto for Elimination Chamber, so make sure to keep an eye out on Elimination Chamber coverage. And that's about it for us here today. Thank you guys so much. Don't forget to click that subscribe to the channel. Check out some of the other content, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye, everyone.
Yeet.